let me show you how to have the best start at Star Citizen 4.0. This new player's beginner's guide will show you how to go from practically nothing to having over 3 million on your first day. You can then buy the Vulture. On day 2, I have a gigantic brain idea. Too bad it was a smooth brain idea, but I still end up with 4.2 million. I put in a neckbeard amount of gameplay for day 3. We end up with just under 9 million. Might as well invest that money into one of the best ships in the game. We buy the Constellation Taurus. A couple hours later, I buy the Hull A just to show the new players just how powerful this ship can be. This is 300,000 in orders that you can complete in 30 minutes. When you choose your primary residence, you can either choose the Stanton system or Pyro. Pyro is a lawless system, so this is more geared towards new players who want a little bit of security, so we're going to be starting out in the Stanton system. You can start in Lorville, Orison, Area 18, or New Babbage, but I plan to do stuff in the Crusader area, so we're going to start out in Orison. When I first spawned into Star Citizen, I found myself in my gigantic personal hangar, which actually bugged out quite a few character accounts. Didn't affect me. CIG had to revert it back to where people spawned in their halves. When you pick your home residence, you have the opportunity to do the tutorial mission. Do that because it's going to pay you 24,000 AUEC and give you a free chest armor. Once you're actually in the game, you can press F1 to open your Moby glass. Now you're going to want to head over to contracts. No matter what starter package you have, you want to head over to the hauling section, and you most definitely want to complete that very first contract because it pays 50k. Doing the tutorial mission and this hauling contract will give you just under 100k starting money. In Star Citizen, you can play in either first-person or third-person camera mode. In order to get into third-person camera mode, you just press F4. Pressing F4 will zoom you out a little bit more, and if you hold down Z, you can actually change the angle of your camera. Letting go of Z will lock the camera angle's perspective, and you can just press F4 to get back into first-person mode. If you get sick and tired of all the player chat that fills up the left side of your screen, you can just press F12 to hide it, and F12 will bring it back. Nothing like a big giant gulp of fresh gas giant air from Orison to start your day. Oh wait, I still have my helmet on, so I guess I'm smelling my own farts. In Star Citizen 4.0, all loot is physical at this point, so in order to access anything that you have in your local inventory, you're going to have to find one of these cargo terminals here. Now these terminals are going to be practically everywhere at every point of interest that you visit, so don't worry about that. And they'll also be in your personal hangar as well as the halves when you first spawn into the game. At this point, you should have completed the tutorial mission, made it to the spaceport, and created your first personal hangar. In order to create your own personal hangar for the first time, you need to interact with the fleet manager terminals and request that your ship be delivered here, then retrieve it. That will actually create your personal hangar. If you get near any elevator door, just simply pressing F will call it to you, but you will have to scroll up and down on your mouse wheel while holding F in order to select your personal hangar. When you create your personal hangar at your home location, it's going to be based off the largest ship you own, and since I own capital ships, this thing's massive. Ding ding ding, congratulations if you made it this far. I want to give you the opportunity to win this Foundation Festival 2954 Nomad. It comes with a digital download, lifetime insurance, and the really super cool Festival Foundation paint. In order to have a chance to win this awesome Nomad here, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the Hawks Gaming YouTube channel, leave a like on this video, and comment anything you want down below. The random YouTube comment picker that will determine the winner will only give you credit for one comment that you place, so keep that in mind. Good luck everybody, and congratulations to whoever wins this amazing ship. Turning on your ship can kind of be done in two ways. In one way, you can hold down F and look for the actual flight ready button, or you can press right Alt and R. Before we head out, let's change our landing request key binding to something different, because realistically, pressing left Alt and N to do it is pretty stupid, so I'm just going to change mine to apostrophe. Now I can just press one button to take off and land, and that's way easier. It's also a good idea if you're a brand new player to Star Citizen to leave your hints turned on. Those are located in the bottom right hand corner, and they're always going to give you an idea of how to interact with something or how to move around in the world. Flying around in your ship is relatively similar to navigating Star Citizen on foot. Spacebar is going to move you up, W will move you forwards, S will move you backwards, A will move you to the left, and D will move you to the right. Shift is your boost key in your ship. If you're on foot, it'll cause you to run. Pressing Control will cause your ship to go down, and if you're on foot, you'll crouch. Pressing Q will cause your ship to roll to the left, and if you press E, it will roll to the right. When you do that on foot, it kind of makes your character lean to the left and the right, which will give you a better shooting angle against the space scumbags. Pressing F2 will open up your navigation window and you can wheel up and down on your mouse to either zoom in all the way or zoom in all the way out to Pyro if you want to go that far. The beginning of our space adventure truly starts at the station in Crew L1, so we're going to need to go there and transfer our imprint to Crew L1, so if we die, at least we'll spawn there and not have to run through a city in order to get to the airport. You can either click on Crew L manually like I showed you, or you can search for it in the search locations above. Just make sure you plot a route to go there. When you get out of the atmosphere, hold down B to engage your quantum drive, and when it spools up all the way, as long as you're looking at your target, you can press your left mouse click to engage your quantum drive. Cadet, it is extremely important that you complete that hauling mission before you head over to Crew L1, or you will not have enough money to do what I'm just about to do. Whenever you request a takeoff or landing and you fly past those hangar doors, your ship's always going to bobble like this. Don't freak out, it's not your piloting skills, you're just loading in and out of your personal hangar. After you land, always get in the habit of pressing I to turn off your engines just so your ship doesn't do anything crazy. By the way, thank you CIG for giving me this ship package that I can give away to one lucky winner. Make your way to the back of the station where the elevators are. There will be a medical clinic right next to it. We need to transfer imprint here before we got into the world to possibly get wrecked. Press F to activate the regeneration console. It's going to show your primary residence as well as this location. We want to transfer imprint to this location. Hop into the elevator next to the clinic. We're going to be heading over to the refinery deck. Head inside the mining support center on the left hand side of the wall. There's going to be 2 Vantage kiosk rental machines. Click on one of those. You might possibly have to rent 2 vehicles here. One is most definitely going to be the Gray Cat Rock. My starter package was actually the Cutlass Black, and I'm featuring the Nomad. Both of those ships can hold the Gray Cat Rock. Most players are going to be starting Star Citizen 4.0 with only 20,000 to 25,000 credits. That's why you need to do that tutorial mission and complete that first hauling contract for 50k if you have to rent the Cutlass Black. Our next stop is going to be in the Galleria. Yep, we're going to let more of our starting AUEC burn a hole in our pocket because we're going to need to fork out a whole bunch of it in order to buy some armor. I'm going to buy basically the same body armor that you get from doing the tutorial, and it's going to set me back at least 1.7k. It is most definitely worth the time to do that tutorial mission. Not only do you get a nice fat reward at the very end and a free body armor, it also kind of teaches you the controls in the game. If you want to buy more than one of an item, just click on the description, then click buy. You can actually put in a quantity. I only need one, obviously, but you know. I've scarfed up my body armor, a helmet, a pair of arms, and a set of legs. I was so excited to get everything set up that I totally and completely forgot to buy my backpack, so we're going to have to go back there after I get suited up. Man, I was really hoping that helmet wouldn't look super duper ugly when I put it on. Unfortunately, it does. I'm definitely going to take that back and sell it when I go buy my backpack. You can right-click an item to put it on and select equip. You can also drag and drop it to that local area on your body. That will also equip it, just like I'm doing now with the helmets. Oh yeah, noob helmet looks way better. Hey. On the counter at the mining support center, there's going to be Cruise Luck. This stuff is super godly and replenishes both your drink as well as your food. Pressing F will purchase one and put it in your hand, and if you hold F, it'll actually purchase it and put it into your local inventory. If you have it in your hand and you back away from the counter, it will actually store it in either your chest piece, your leg piece, or a backpack if you have it, so that's pretty win. You will most definitely want to buy a Gray Cat multi-tool. Now you can purchase it right from the shelf, or you can actually buy one from the kiosk right behind you. You can also buy the Orbit attachment. It's not required, but offers interesting gameplay later. Hit up the kiosk before you head out because it's the only place you can really get the tractor beam attachment. I'll equip my tractor beam by dragging it over to my hip, and we're going to stuff that tractor beam attachment into the actual Pyro multi-tool just by dropping it on that bubble. Back at the armor shop to buy my backpack. Most definitely don't leave home without it. If you bought the Orbit attachment, make sure to take it with you and don't forget the Lux. In this little stop here, we've transferred our imprint to Crew L1, completely suited up. We are now ready to start making a whole boatload of money. Micro Brain Hawks completely and totally forgot that he could have loaded up his rock inside of his personal hangar. Instead, I'm going to do it over here at Daymar. I'm sure nothing bad is going to happen. Daymar is a moon located in the Crusader system where I basically started out, so let's go back there. Now, don't be dumb like Hawks and go to SCV-1 to pull out your rock. You can actually just summon your rock to the pad, drive it off to the side, then summon your ship and load it up. It's like way easier than doing it this way. Now, well, by the time I realized I was already here, just make sure when you land next to those two little buildings that have tiny little pads. They'll be colored blue. Just land nearby and you'll be able to load up your rock there if you're dumb like me. Once you land, just kind of have a look around and make sure the coast is clear, and also make sure you press I to turn off your engines. Next to those two pads, there will be a tiny building with a console where you can summon your rock at. Now, there's also a possibility that there can be loot in any one of these buildings here, so definitely check it out. It could be worth your time. The rock is just like any ship. You can hold down F and look for the power button, then push it, or you can press right Alt plus R to turn on the power. All we have to do now is get this rock loaded into the Nomad, and the cool thing about the Nomad is nobody can get in from the back side. If you do own a Nomad, you're definitely going to have to back the rock in here, or you won't have a way out. If you want to make sure that nobody can be a ninja and get into your rock and drive it off your grid, make sure to close your cargo bay. You know, it's just another beautiful day in the Stanton system where people have beefs with each other and they can't settle it any other way than bucking each other down with laser cannons. Actually, it looks like somebody's doing a bounty hunting mission right now, so he's beefing on that bad guy that's flying over me. Let's just get the heck on out of here. It is very possible that you'll be out there playing Star Citizen, you'll land, and then somebody will start a bounty mission, those bad guys will appear right on top of you. Those bad guys will wait for the moment that you just start to take off, and they'll totally and completely try to smack you down. So I basically just afterburned out of there nice and low until I got to a point I was a little ways away and went straight up for space. I also made sure to get distance between me and those bad guys before I engage my quantum drive, because when you do that, you lose power to your shields, and that could have sucked. At this point, you can look for any of the OM markers and fly down there to do what we're going to be doing, but the best place to go is going to be OM 1, because almost every single time it's always going to be daylight there. I recommend that you manually fly down to the surface of the moon from an OM marker instead of going directly to a location, because a location can have people and you definitely don't want to get found while you're doing this. As you're flying down to the surface of Daymar, just pick any of the imperfections. Some will look like mountain ranges and some will look like little wavy sand patches. I'm going to make one small change to how my radar pings targets. Now, the default is going to be tab. For me, it's going to be way simpler just to set that to mouse 4. Chances are it's going to be easier for you too. Get relatively low to the surface of Daymar and send out a ping. Anything that appears to you on your very first ping that is over 5 kilometers away, that's going to be rocks. That's going to be mining a prospect or a mole. Anything that appears closer than that, either 4 kilometers or less, will always be gems after your second ping. Once you're ready to mine, to enter mining mode, all you have to do is press M on your keyboard. Press left click on your mouse in order to turn on your mining laser, and if you wheel up and down, that will increase and decrease the laser mining power. To scan the rock, all you have to do is look at it. Now, this is going to reveal a little bit of handy information for you. On the left hand side, it's going to show you the green optimal window. That's going to be the distance between you and the rock. Definitely try to always keep that in the green, if not right on the optimal line. On the right hand side of your screen, there's going to be a green optimal window. You are always going to want to keep it into the green, because if it goes into the red, which means overcharge, that rock can blow up and completely and totally destroy your rock and kill you. If you overcharge a rock so horribly that you think it might blow up in your face, make sure to turn off your laser and back away as quickly as possible. You might not make it, and you might even still lose your rock. Now, if you remember, we flew all the way out to Crew L1, spent a whole bunch of time getting suited up and prepared to come out here, got our rock loaded up, flew all the way out here, started mining rocks, and then we experienced our very first server error. Oh joy. Back in the day, what that meant is, well, you just lost all the progress you did up until that moment, which could be a whole entire load full of gems, all of the time it took you to get there to prepare to even do this, because you would have to claim your ship and your rock and start all over again. Instead, what will happen now is you'll lag up for up to a couple of minutes, and then it'll dump you and everyone in that server into a brand new server, keeping up with all your progress. Pressing the ping button will reveal the gems on the ground, and man, we have a whole bunch already. When I mine gems, I like to break all the rocks down before I even start collecting, but you know, you can do it any way you want. At this point, I'm going to have a whole bunch of gems on the ground. Now, this stuff right here is aphrite. It is the second most valuable gem. We're going to be going for hadnite in just a little bit. To enter extraction mode, so you can actually suck up all the gems into the rock, all you have to do is hold down the left Alt key and press your left mouse button. There is kind of a little trick where when your rock blows up, you can quickly switch to extraction mode and then suck it up. You'll suck all the gems at once, but sometimes sometimes it bugs your rock and it's more trouble than it's worth. So I just crack everything, then suck it all up all at once. You can literally still hear that rock trying to crack in the background. Now, had I known if I just would have touched it with a mining laser, I could have picked up where I left off. And, well, I figured that out later. Right as I was taking off, my original ping revealed all 3 of these targets, and all 3 of them were greater than 5 kilometers away. So that right there is going to be Prospector or Mole Rocks, but that patch right there, that one magically appeared just out of nowhere, less than 4 kilometers away, so definitely going to be gems. Aphorite, Dolivine, and to a lesser extent, Hadonite can spawn on Daymar here. So Hawks, you know, Hadonite's the most valuable gem. Why didn't you just go immediately mine Hadonite? Realistically, I could have personally done that, but somebody else who is following this guide that had to complete the tutorial mission as well as that first hauling contract isn't going to have enough money to buy the box we haven't even bought yet, which costs 4K, as well as be able to suit themselves out with a full set of heavy armor. That stuff's expensive. The master plan is to use any money we make off this very first run, no matter what gems we get, to head over to Aberdeen, where the Hadonite is all over the place. That is, until I experienced Bug Citizen. I've never had problems mining with the rock using the Nomad, but of course when I'm trying to give this ship away to somebody, I keep falling through the deck over and freaking over. I decide, you know what, maybe it's just the landing location that I'm at, the ground's a little bit uneven, and the ramp is trying to fit into the ground, so I move it a little ways away, park the rock in front ways, and yep, fall right through the deck again. This is getting a little bit frustrating. Oh my god, help me, I'm freaking gonna die. The most ironic thing about this entire situation is it was actually caused by me not once, but twice. I forgot to turn off my engines, and that's what caused this entire problem. Instead, I actually got completely butthurt and was ready to start all over again. I pulled out my Cutlass Black, and then I flew back to Daymar. Lo and behold, there is the icon for my Grey Cat Rock. That is another neat thing about Star Citizen 4.0, because back in the day we didn't have persistence on this sort of level. If I had logged out to the main menus back then and into a random server, I would have lost everything. Instead, I got to fly over here in my Cutlass Black, then grab my rock, load it up inside. Heck, I could even fly that Nomad if I want to. Everything's gonna work just fine. I'm still holding a grudge against the Nomad, even though it was my own stupidity, so I'm gonna fly the very first ship that I ever owned in Star Citizen, and that's my Cutlass Black. When you're out there gem mining like a boss, there is no greater feeling than lifting off and finding another patch right next to where you just found a patch that you just mined up. I guess the only thing that's gonna feel better than that is to find another gem patch that is right next to that gem patch, and it's an even bigger patch of gems. Now, if I'm a betting man, about the only thing that's gonna feel better than this is to join the Mile High Club while doing this all at the exact same time. In this best start to Star Citizen 4.0, I'm going to show you multiple ways to make money, but I'm also going to break it down in terms of how much money you can expect to make per hour that you play. I'm also going to break it down on a weekly to monthly basis, so if you really like something you see and you put focus on it, that is how much money you can expect to freaking make. It's going to be a lot more than you expect. The 3 terms I'm going to use in this best start is going to be the casual player, the neckbeard, and the sweaty neckbeard. A casual player is probably only going to be putting in 4 hours per day maximum, probably a little bit less, you know, as long as Star Citizen is running bug-free. As long as it's not running bug-free, Hawks, you come up with the best jokes possible in your videos, that's why I subscribe to you. A neckbeard, on the other hand, laughs at the casual player because they have more time to dedicate to Star Citizen on a regular basis. This type of player is going to be playing Star Citizen each and every day for at least 8 hours a day. It doesn't matter if it's running smoothly, they're making piles of money, or they're beating their heads against the wall, they're still playing for 8 hours. The sweaty neckbeard takes this to an entirely new level. This type of a player is going to play for at least 12 hours a day. Doesn't even matter how the game is playing or if they can even get into the game. They'll sit there for 12 hours trying to log in. That type of a player is absolutely insane, but there are definitely players out there that are playing on that level. The earning potential of those 3 different types of players is drastically different, and once you start factoring in time, focusing on a profession for at least 30 days, we're talking about hundreds of millions of AUEC for the freaking sweaty neckbeards. I'm not trying to say you're going to be making hundreds of millions of AUEC doing rock mining. I mean, you can over time. It's definitely going to take you longer than 30 days, but I was able to put in an almost sweaty neckbeard on day one, and I pulled in over 3 million AUEC. Definitely enough to buy the Vulture and get her completely pimped out so we can make even more money. No matter what type of player you are, the casual, the neckbeard, or the sweaty neckbeard, you always want to secure multiple ways to make money as soon as you can when you're first starting out. Just like that, our rock is completely topped off. We have a little bit over 800 gems in there already. Let's do something stupid that's going to waste some time, but it is actually pretty cool. I accidentally fat-fingered number 3 and pulled out my med pin, but if you hold down the number 2 button, you can select the Pyro multi-tool. If you put the orbit attachment in there and hold down the right-click button on your mouse, it'll actually suck up the gems off the ground and put them in your backpack. I remember when they added this back in the day, and I just ran around everywhere sucking everything into my backpack. It was so freaking awesome, but realistically it would be way faster to just go over to our rock, open up the very back hatch, put some gems in our backpack, and suck up the rest of the gems off the ground using the rock. But hey, what's the fun in that? I'm only going to do it once during this entire playthrough. Might as well do it now because heck, it brings back the nostalgia of the old days when they first added it, and it's still so much fun. Although it looks like my backpack is completely full now. At this point, the only thing we have left to do is get these gems sold, although there's going to be a little tiny bit of drama before that. The admin office at Crew L1 will buy all the gems that we just farmed up. However, they do not have a cargo deck, and that's where we're going to need to buy a 2 SCU box from. So kind of think of it this way, all L1 stations have refinery decks, and any space station that's above a main planet will always have a cargo deck where you can buy any box whenever you need it. The smart play would have been just to head over to Everest Harbor, which is a space station just above the main planet of Hurston, instead of coming here first. I can sell my gems from my backpack, my leg armor, or chest armor. However, it's going to be a bunch of drama to pull all those gems out of the rocks, stuff them into local inventory through one of the kiosks, then head over to the Galleria where the admin office is to finally be able to sell all my gems at once. Nobody got time for that. Let's just head over to Everest Harbor to grab a box. I plan to farm Hadnite for several hours in the Hurston system, so it is most definitely a good idea to transfer imprint to Everest Harbor. Cargo centers are pretty cool. They sell all kinds of different things like suits and armor. They'll sell tractor beams, things like that, but we're mostly after these store-all storage boxes. They'll come in various sizes from 1/8 SCU all the way up to 8 SCU, and the cool thing about them, you can stuff pretty much anything in there as long as it'll fit. It'll go into that box. Now we're mostly interested in the 2 SCU box. We're basically going to be filling that box all the way up with gems before we come back and deposit them in the warehouse. So this is kind of awkward, so I have pulled out the 1/8 and 1 SCU boxes out of the kiosk here, but I have never tried a 2 SCU or larger box, so I think that's kind of a bad idea. Inside your personal hangar, there's going to be a warehouse that has a cargo deck on it. It is much safer to bring it up from the warehouse itself using the cargo deck. That's the other way you can access your local inventory. First, we need to put our store-all box really close to the back end of our rock so we can do a quick transfer here. The maximum capacity of this backpack is going to be 75, so let's set our split to 75. Now we can just split all these stacks into a bunch of 75 stacks. Alright, now that you have all these stacks split into 75 stacks, take one of those stacks, put it in your backpack, and then stuff it into your store-all storage crate. You're going to have to do this over and over unless you know the trick. If you press F on the rock and then quickly look over at your box and press F on that before the rock screen opens up, both of the screens are going to open up at the exact same time, and you can just quickly move your stacks this way instead of having to split everything. And then I still end up moving one at a time instead of shift clicking, which is faster. Hawks, you're such a noob. This is your warehouse access point I was talking about. You just need to snap your box of gems to that cargo deck. After you snap it to the grid, head over to the freight manager here. You're going to be looking at the terminal. It should show your box in there. All you have to do is lower it down into the warehouse. This is where most new players are going to screw up, so you can double click this box and it's going to open up and show you its contents, right? And most people are just going to shift click all these right here to highlight them all, and then they're going to move them to the warehouse, which ironically is only going to move the very first one that you did. Realistically, they're going to look at that and go, yeah, I moved everything, but when they go back in, they're going to notice they only moved one stack of those gems. Because As long as the gems are still inside the box, we're not going to be able to sell them. Instead of shift clicking, what you want to do instead is just click on each gem, move to warehouse, do that with each one of the stacks, and it'll make sure that they all move over. Hopping off and getting back on the freight manager verifies that all my gems have finally moved over. Technically, we have a boatload of gems here, over 800, but realistically, these gems are not worth as much as Hadnite. Hadnite sells for 399 each. And these gems are selling for far less than that, so we did the exact same amount of work for far less pay. This first trip was kind of necessary. We really needed that money to afford the box as well as to be able to afford this really expensive Morozov armor here because we need the heat protection. I would usually recommend that you buy a Pembroke suit, a helmet, and a backpack. They're super expensive like this Morozov armor as well, but in Star Citizen 4.0, they took that armor out. You can only find it in the world, you can't buy it in a store. Now, when I'm talking about being able to afford something, what I'm really talking about is you having the ability to be able to suit up at least 2 or 3 times, so you're going to need all that extra backup money. You never know when you might get ganked or make a mistake that gets you killed. As we approach Aberdeen, I want you to pay special attention to that little brown patch on the left-hand side. That is the freaking Hadnite motherland. I actually start out in a different location, but I spend most of the day there. When you are hunting for Hadnite on Aberdeen, no matter where you go, it is exceptionally important that you do not go to the wastelands. These are the lands that are extremely flat. They almost have no rocks anywhere and they just look sandy. There is literally nothing there. Ironically, the majority of Aberdeen's surface is going to be that way, so you make sure that you're always farming near mountains or near any irregularities that you see. That is a 9-pack of Hadnite, and you would think that's actually pretty good, but on Aberdeen you can find groups of Hadnite that spawn together and up to groups of 20. It's absolutely ridiculous, and you can load up super quick. That little brown patch that I was talking about that you could see from orbit literally covers hundreds of square kilometers, and it's nothing but a whole bunch of hills, like everywhere. There's grass, there's dead trees, and there's these weird looking rocks, but it is most definitely easy to spot once you get there. And when you get there, oh my freaking goodness is it good. You can get over 800 gems per hour. Before I go into how much money the casual, the neckbeard, and the sweaty netbeard can make pretty much on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, I want you to look down to the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. Where I'm currently at on Aberdeen, it is 172 C out, and your average body temperature that you want to maintain is 36.5. As you can see, my temperature is going up slowly. I'm going to tell you straight up that the weather on Aberdeen and its temperature makes absolutely no sense. The only thing you can really count on is it's going to be freaking hot outside. Right here it's 172 C, but say I go like a kilometer or 2 away, well, it can be over 220, and working in those conditions is a bit brutal when your armor is only rated for 117 C. I'm working on the very last rock to crack since I like to scoop everything all at once, and I'm just about reaching the maximum heat that I like to reach, which is about 40 C. Once you get to 42, you are going to start taking some damage and it can kill you. Most definitely don't forget to bring your Lux with you. Working in these hot conditions is going to make you thirstier than usual, so you're definitely going to want to make sure you don't die of thirst as well. Parking your ship nearby is a super duper good idea. The closer the better, because you're going to need to get in there multiple times. We're out here rock mining and scooping up in order to just cool off for a little bit, and it doesn't really take all that long. Not gonna lie, while I was sitting here trying to cool off, I was actually contemplating going around to all the mining sites here in Hurston and just landing there and looting around inside of the buildings to see if I could find a Pembroke helmet and body armor. I had already heard reports back that the helmet was extremely common and dropping at all of the mining locations across the verse. The body armor, however, the Pembroke suit itself, was slightly more rare, but people were still finding it. I hadn't heard anything about the backpack yet. So far, nobody had found anything at that point. But later in the day, people started finding backpacks as well. But I think I made the right decision. Just getting out here and sweating it out and farming Hadnite non-stop was probably a better idea than trying to loot up some armor somewhere. I mean, I knew I could probably find the helmet and the suit itself in an hour or two. I didn't even have an estimate on the backpack since no one had reported back to me, so yeah, just sweating it out here in the Morozov armor is probably the best idea, even though I'm really hot. The screen shake at this point is getting out of hand. I'm honestly getting sick and tired of it, so I'm going to head over to my game settings and turn vibration off. Get the heck out of here, vibration, that's ridiculous. Then we'll scroll down almost all the way to the bottom of the list and turn off global camera shake. Oh my god, that's way better, although some of the icons are kind of jiggling around. I guess I can deal with that since there's so much head night right here. Alright Hawks, if you show us any more rock mining at this point, I'm probably going to throw up in my mouth, and what I had for breakfast today was actually quite good, but I don't think it's going to taste good if it comes back up. So how long did you farm Hadanite, and how much Hadanite did you get on average per hour? If I had not gone to that brown patch that is the Hadanite motherland, I would not have been able to average 1,000 gems plus per hour. Total time mining on Daymar and finally getting the heck over here to Everest Harbor area was about 50 minutes. Total time spent on Aberdeen, which also includes me flying up to Everest Harbor and dropping off my loot, then coming back and mining again, was 8.5 hours. Once the casual player essentially gets good and figures out how to rock mine really well, in 4 hours they're going to be able to make 1,596,000. That's pretty good for a day's work. The average neckbeard who spends at least 8 hours of gameplay per day doing rock mining can expect to make 3.192 million. That's actually pretty good for a neckbeard. True story, instead of just claiming my rock that was all beat to death when the Nomad was beating it to death as well as me, I headed over to Everest Harbor and just bought myself a rock. Like I said earlier, no matter what type of player you are, the casual, the neckbeard, or the sweaty neckbeard, you want to secure as many ways to make money as possible early on. At this point, I've been mining on Aberdeen for about 6.5 hours, and we're starting to get really close to having enough money to be able to buy the Vulture. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. So the sweaty neckbeard, if they put in 12 hours of gameplay and, the game runs really well for them, they can expect to make 4.788 million per day. That's actually really good cheddar cheese there for just mining Hadanite. Like, you can do contracts or missions to make money early on, but I always find that they're buggy as soon as the patch comes out. In less than a sweaty neckbeard amount of time, we were able to make 3.3 million, which is plenty to head over to New Deal on Hurston to buy the Vulture. We've already bought the rock, now we're going to be securing method number 2 to make money, which is buying the Drake Vulture. We're also going to get her totally and completely pimped out before I go to sleep, because boy oh boy am I tired at this point. I literally hear this all the time, so where can I rent the Drake Vulture? Oh, you can't rent the Drake Vulture. You know why? Because it makes far too much money. CIG ain't gonna let you rent something like that, so you're gonna have to buy it. And the very first thing we're gonna buy is the Atlas, which is located at Hurl 5 in the Galleria, kind of up on the top. Just make sure when you get there, you store your ship so you can put the part on there. You'll be looking for Platinum Bay, and once you get in there, there'll be a terminal on the right-hand side. That's the one you want because the other one doesn't sell what we need. If you're really strapped for cash and you can only afford one thing to upgrade in your systems, make sure you get the Atlas because that's about the best quality of life upgrade you can get. Press F1 to open up your Mobi glass, then click on vehicles. What you're looking for is the one that is unlocked because it is stored at that location. In our case, it's going to be the Drake Vulture. I'll be changing the utilities later, but what you're looking for is your systems. To switch out your quantum drive, just kind of click on it to highlight it, then click on the new quantum drive, which will be the Atlas, then save and equip. Our next stop is going to be Shallow Field Station, which is Crew L4. We're going to be buying 2 different parts here. Just like before, you're going to head over to Platinum Bay, which is located in the Galleria, and you're going to hit up that terminal that's on the right-hand side. The first part I'm going to buy is called Ultra Flow. This is going to be your coolers, and realistically, you probably only need to buy one of these since they're the best industrial grade, but we're going to go with 2. The next part we're going to get is the Palisade, and the Drake Vulture is extremely shield heavy, so you're going to need at least 3 of these modules. Normally I'd buy military grade shields instead of these Palisades here, but in Star Citizen 4.0 they removed all military and stealth hardware from shops. I've got all my new parts in there. Just never forget to save and equip or the parts will never be saved in there. Now all we have to do is worry about our power plants. Our next up is going to be in the R Corp system. We're going to be heading to the main city of Area 18. There's only going to be really two choices when it comes to power plants. One's going to be the Lumicore and the other one's going to be the Brenton. The Lumicore puts out 17 power, it is the A-grade competition, and the Brenton will put out 16 power. It is the best industrial version. All competition modules have extremely low hit points, but both of those power plants can be found here at Dumper's Depot at the very back of Area 18. Ultimately, I probably should have just went with the Lumicores because that would have given me 2 extra power to my power systems, and heck, we hadn't even talked about power systems yet. Kind of going through a little buyer's remorse as I stuff these Brentons into my Vulture, but ultimately it's not really going to affect how much money we make per hour as long as someone doesn't try to beat us up. The next thing you're going to want to pick up while you're here is the Abrade Scraper module. You only need to buy one of these because the Vulture already has one included. The other 2 cinch modules on the Vulture completely suck, and this Trawler Scraper module here can be commonly found on the Reclaimer. It can scrape a much larger area, although the extraction efficiency sucks compared to the Abrade module. For science, I test all 3 scraper heads in various configurations, but ultimately, just using 2 Abrades is the way to go when we're going after these panels. This is that awkward moment when I haven't used the Vulture in quite some time and I don't realize that the 2 middle fire groups there, that's fire group 1 and the top and the bottom is going to be fire group 2. Some people really enjoy using the tractor beam, but I personally do not use it when I'm out there scraping holes. It's just much easier to reposition myself and then get into gimbal mode. I'll show you that later. What's dumb is I had planned to test both the Abrades and then see if they were better than both of the trawlers, but ultimately I'm setting this up to where both the fire groups are exactly the same. I'm going to have one Abrade and one trawler on each one. Yeah, smooth brain Hawks, that's a really good one. Yep, Hawks is tired, he go thud. Night night. When I woke up early on day 2, I was ready to put in a neckbeard amount of time to make a pile of AUEC. Little did I know this gigantic big-brained idea that I was going to have turned out to be a gigantic smooth brain idea, which pushed me into sweaty neckbeard amounts of gameplay in order to fix that stupid big-brained idea. Stage 1 of the master plan. I knew if I was flying to mech L1 and I dropped out at 19.3 gigameters, I would drop out in the Aaron's Halo. Stage 2 was to quickly locate panels, which is actually quite easy in Star Citizen 4.0. When I was Hadnite mining, I knew what would be gems every single time, but when we're looking for panels, it's a bit different, so you are going to have to get into scanning mode. The default setting is going to be V on your keyboard, and you want to be looking at all of these targets. The magic number we're looking for is any return that is a factor of 2000, either multiplied or divided by 2000. If I don't find anything, I'll engage my quantum drive by mouse left clicking, and then I'll turn it off right away by holding down the B button. That'll give me enough distance to scan around in a big giant circle until I find the perfect return. Let's talk scan angle for a second. Now, right now I'm in the narrow beam and I can't even find this target even though I'm looking directly at it. You always want to make sure you're scanning in wide angle so you don't lose your targets until you approach about 4 kilometers. Wheeling up on your mouse will do a wide angle scan, and if you wheel down on your mouse you'll do a narrow beam scan. You only want to scan with your narrow beam scan when you're super close to a target, or you risk losing what you're trying to find. As I approach this panel here, I'm going to press my middle mouse button, which is going to pull my scraper heads out. There's 2 ways to go about this if you don't have the tractor beam module, and that's just to kind of randomly scrape the area without getting into gimbal mode and locking yourself into position. I most definitely should have positioned myself better before demonstrating this, but when you press G on your keyboard, it's going to lock you into perspective that you're literally looking straight at your target, and those little heads there, they have the movement that your ship would generally have, so it gives you a greater ability to be able to scrape the entire surface without having to constantly move all the time. Technically, you should only have to position yourself once for the top side, then go into gimbal mode, and then you can position yourself one more time to get the bottom side in gimbal mode. If I had 2 Abrade modules on here instead of a trawler and an Abrade, we would be getting 9 SCU of RMC per panel here, and that's actually ridiculous. If you sell that RMC in Orison, which gives you the very best price, we're talking about these panels being worth almost 100k each, and that's, pretty awesome. That's super important. When your filler station fills up, you stop scraping right away, because if you keep scraping, it's going to let you do it, but you're going to be wasting your time. You can also craft stuff on your Vulture. Say you forgot your tractor beam and pyro multi-tool, well, you can craft one here. The only problem is you need a mixture of RMC and construction materials, and ain't nobody got time for construction materials. When you're ready to turn your RMC into boxes, just click the auto eject button, then the eject button, and get your pyro multi-tool out and ready. About every 3 seconds, a box is going to pop out of the machine there, and you can just levitate it and put it on the deck anywhere you want. Technically, you're only supposed to snap 12 of these boxes to your grid, but anybody who is striving to be a neckbeard can fit 26 boxes in their hold with 13 left in their buffer. The other thing you're going to find out there in these debris fields are going to be these broken off tail fin sections. And as long as you have a braid modules, both of them are braid modules, you're going to be getting at least 2 SCU of RMC off each one of these. You'll also find a little teeny tiny piece of rectangular scrap, which is not really worth anything unless it will help you top off. The panel, the tail fin, and the scrap, they're all going to be worth 2,000 when you're out there scanning. So a patch that sends back, say, a 30,000 return can be up to 15 panels. That's way more than you can hold. See where I'm standing right now? Technically, you can put 2 more boxes right there. That is the only way you're going to be able to maximize the amount that you can actually carry per trip. I'm not overly concerned about min-maxing right now. Ultimately, I just want to sorta be full, and then we're going to go check prices to see where the very, very best place to sell like massive amounts of RMC is going to be. Normally, I'd get on Google and look up UAX Corp. They always have the most up-to-date prices, but instead I'm just going to go on an adventure and figure this out for myself. Morphologist recently completed his latest beginner's guide, and he recommended that everybody go to New Babbage when they first start out. The only problem with that is hangars are munching ships in half, not giving enough time to get out, and half the time you can't even get out of New Babbage because none of the trams are working right. Sure, if they work to let you in, but when you try to get back to the airport, they won't open the door. When you get ready to offload, you want to make sure that you already parked your Vulture as close as you can to the warehouse doors. Actually, I'm quite far away. I should be much closer because this is going to add time to me offloading everything. Needless to say, later on, after many trips under my belt, I get that daggone ramp door right next to the very edge of the warehouse door. Have all the RMC put on the warehouse deck that I had stuffed in the back of my Vulture. Now all we have to do is just empty out the buffer. It should be 13 boxes. Never come back to town unless you're completely full. We didn't get a full hold. I, kind of quit a little bit early because I wanted to check prices, but definitely try your very best to fill up as much as you can. And I mean 26 boxes on your cargo grid and 13 more in your buffer. That means 39 SCU. And if you want to be extra psycho like my friend Dunkel, you can put 1 more box right next to your pilot seat. I mean, that literally is a little too much drama for me and min-maxing. It's quite funny though, because sometimes it might take you 10 minutes to get out of your ship. We're looking for the TDD, which is located in the back of the Commons here. Let's hope the price is right, because right now we are totally broke as a freaking joke. You're not going to see it in my face, but right now the butt hurt is completely washing over me, because 8.5K per SCU, that is absolutely horrible. Either RMC got beat to death with a Nerf bat, or we are most definitely not in the right location to be selling RMC. On a scale of bad to super bad, well, that pretty much sucked. It was pretty bad. Little did I know, I would be spending about the next 35 to 40 minutes just trying to get to my hangar because the daggone trams just would not open the door. That gave me plenty of time to look up the price on UEX as well as formulate the most masterful, big-brained, smooth-brained idea I have ever had. I would pull out my Polaris, stuff my Vulture inside of it, and fly out there and stay out in the field as long as I possibly could until I packed this thing completely full. When you haven't fully experienced the cargo gameplay yet in Star Citizen, you fully do not grasp the idea that touching boxes more than the intended amount of times adds so much freaking time to what you're trying to do, as well as open yourself up for opportunities where, you can lose stuff. Trust me, you're way better off just knowing where the best location is to sell and just farm the Aaron's Halo over there. When you get full, you just drop off in the warehouse and go right back out there. Doing something on this scale does sound like it should be faster. I mean, technically I can't stay out in the field, and then when I get full, I can just drop it off in the Polaris and go right back out again. You just do not fully understand what it means to unload and load boxes more than the intended amount of times unless you've done this a whole bunch. Then you know what I'm about to do solo is basically a stupid idea. Only a stupid idea if you mean trying to make as much AUC per hour as you possibly can, because the gaming experience of being able to take a capital ship out like this and stuff your daggone Vulture inside of it and then just be out there all day long farming RMC, that is actually pretty cool. You know, when the ship actually works. We'll go into that later. If you've ever wanted to know how to drop into the Aaron's Halo from any position pretty much in the Stanton system, well then Cornerstone is your place. It's mostly geared toward mining. It'll show you the thicknesses and densities of each one of the rings, 5 being the best for mining. What we're mostly interested in are these charts here, which will show you a singular point and it'll have 5 other destination points, and it'll also show you where you need to drop out to hit each one of the 10 rings in the Stanton system. Each one of those 5 locations will also show you the return voyage where you need to drop out to hit it from that direction. Our starting point is going to be in Mech L1 and we're going to head to Crew L5. According to that chart, if we're heading to Crew L5 from Mech L1, we're going to have to drop out of Quantum exactly at about 12.2 gigameters. When you're searching for panels, it doesn't really matter if you're in Ring 10 or Ring 1, 5 being the best for mining. You pretty much find about the same amount of panels no matter what ring you're in. The sad part about this is I had such high hopes to be able to use the Polaris to actually find some stuff, but since I can't do a wide angle scan, it's totally broken right now, I can't really use the Polaris anymore. Unless you can do a wide angle scan when you're out there looking for the actual panels, you are never ever going to find those panels. So I'm going to have to hop back into the Vulture and try to find RMC that way, because the scanning has been working totally and completely fine. Whenever I'm in the Vulture and looking there, we've already found another group right near my Polaris. At this point, I've already kind of decided to abandon the Polaris, but I didn't abandon the idea of just stockpiling a whole bunch of RMC at a space station somewhere and then taking it down pretty much all at once to one cell location that pays the most. Really wish I just would have gave up on that plan, because I'm not kidding when I say that plan had absolutely no folds in that brain. It was as smooth as you can possibly get. Ultimately, I planned to do 10 trips on day 2 and 10 trips on day 3. That would have given me enough money to be able to afford to buy the Constellation Taurus. That still leaves me with enough money to not be broke as a joke to fully upgrade the Constellation Taurus minus the weapons on her, because you really don't have to do that, at least early on. Right now, I'm still kind of packing my hold to be 2 boxes shorter. Instead of 39, I'm running 37. Yeah, that's going to catch up to me later unless I start running 39 all the time. Missing 2 boxes over 20 orders on 2 days of like out here scraping as well as delivering, well, that ends up to be 40 boxes, and that's actually quite a bit of money, so don't lose out. Now that the Vulture is completely full of RMC, both mostly on the deck, I am 2 boxes short, but the buffer is completely full. I had the master plan of just dropping everything off at Crew L5 and then moving everything later. Now don't do that, because it's a trap. Alright, enough of the doom and gloom for now. I'll let all the clown shoes unfold here in a few minutes as I figure out that my idea was not the greatest idea. Right now I'm completely happy. I'm actually parking a little bit closer to the warehouse. I definitely need to get a little bit better than that, but we're going to unload our RMC. This is just going to be the very first trip of 10 trips for the day. At least that's what I'm thinking now, because I don't realize I'm going to have to play about 13 and a half hours today to make up for this big-brained idea and all the aftermath that it ends up causing me. I don't generally highlight a bug inside of a best start video, but let me show you how to get a full drink from 2 empty bottles. After I drink this one up, because I'm super duper thirsty, I'll go over the steps if you missed it in the beginning. First, you need to make sure you have at least 2 empty bottles that are exactly of the same type of beverage, and this works with every single drink in the game. As long as the bottles are both empty, you'll be able to stack them on top of each other, just like that. Right-click the stack of 2 empty bottles. You can now either click carry or inspect. This will put it in your hand, and there you go. You have a full bottle of drink. Now you're not going to die of thirst anymore. Hopefully CIG finally gets this fixed, hint hint, but at least for now, maybe there won't be a bunch of bottles on the ground. How we were mining Hadnite and how we are scraping RMC both have 2 things in common. Flying down from a random OM marker kept you away from people when you were mining Hadnite. Looking for and salvaging these panels out here in the Aaron's Halo also keeps you away from people, which keeps you safe. Ultimately, in both those situations, the only time you are ever in any real danger is when you are heading to your cell location at the very end of your journey. Here I am at my warehouse again. This is trip 10. I'm dropping off all my RMC once again. Kind of freaking out a little bit because after trip 6 it just stopped updating how much I was dropping off. It literally will not show me anything past 250 boxes. And yet again, still not keeping track of how much RMC I actually have. Just to make sure before we do anything else, let me kind of take one of these boxes out. I'm going to pull it up to the very top here and hopefully that number is going to stay the same. Alright, chances are it's keeping track of everything. I have close to 400 boxes at this point. I'm going to try to select all and move everything at once, although it looks like it probably only moved everything on page 1 because that's about a third of what I have total. If you stashed a bunch of RMC at a space station somewhere like I did, this is where I would recommend to go rent a Freelancer Max over at a cargo deck. It's about 80k. Instead, I own a C2 and let the clown shoes begin. Oh yeah, that's about all I needed to see. Just gonna send all that RMC right back down to the warehouse. But sadly, it's actually far worse than that. I called out my C2 again, started loading up all my boxes, experienced the black screen of death, which caused me to lose about 150 boxes. Past me is really hopeful that isn't the case. I actually had to do a character repair to even be able to log back into the servers. I'm going to snag up this max lift tractor beam. This should actually speed up the offloading and loading process, and I'm also going to be running that Freelancer Max that I just talked about a little while ago. You can rent it, I guess, for a little over 85k. That 80k was a little low of an estimate, but this is actually an added expense, even though it's a great ship. Let's get this max loaded up, and I don't know, maybe my stuff kind of came back from Persistence. Can't really tell yet, but we'll find out here in a little bit. The last time I pulled up my freight elevator, I had about that many boxes on it. I only pulled, I don't know, 15 or 20 of them off there, started stacking them on the C2. That's when I experienced that black screen of death. All the boxes on my C2 when I came back were like locked to the grid, and all the boxes in my warehouse were just like completely gone. Now, well, it is what it is. Let's head over to Orison. UEX is saying that they're paying $10,800 per box, and that's way better than $8,500. Orison might not be your favorite city, but it sure is the easiest place to find the airport at. I guess the added benefit for having a gigantic hangar like I do, it sure is really easy to back up to the freight elevator. On this run, I stuffed over 100 boxes of RMC in here, and I've already touched all those boxes one time extra to get them loaded onto this ship. The brutal reality is starting to slap me across the face of making that choice of stashing all the RMC at a space station, then bringing it over here to this warehouse and stuffing it in here. I mean, I thought I was going to be saving time, but in reality, I'm actually costing myself even more time, especially when you try to stash boxes back here. This is so ridiculous, CIG. I mean, come on. Oh yeah, that's just totally a bunch of drama. Not going to be stuffing any more boxes in there. I still have 2 more trips to bring here, and I've already learned my lesson. We'll get these dropped down in the warehouse to see my grand total of how many I have, and that is 108 boxes so far. Hopefully we have about 270 more to go. Good news, when I got here, it showed that I had over 250 boxes in my warehouse. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Alright, Hawks, calm down. Everything's still working just fine. Not. It's actually gonna suck because I needed to bring up another load of boxes from the warehouse in order to fill up the rest of my ship, and now I can't send these back down for some reason, and it's a lot of boxes. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Had I just taken every single order from my Vulture directly to here, I wouldn't be experiencing any of this drama at all. And for the last trip, I just took the few remaining boxes that I had left and stuck them on the deck, although most of them are still bugged and locked to the deck itself. I should have had about 170 boxes left over, but unfortunately the majority of those, well, on that last server error, they're all gone. And if you have stuff on a freight elevator when a server error happens, chances are I hope you're wearing diapers because you are going to be pooping your pants. Sadly, the majority of the boxes here on my C2 are completely locked to the deck and bugged out, so I'll move what I can move, then we'll sell the rest. Yep, see? This is from the first order just before that black screen happened. I'm going to have to claim my ship just to get this fixed. From the moment I logged on today, right up until this moment right here, I've been on for about 9.5 hours. That doesn't even account for the 45 minutes that I was trapped in New Babbage. Technically, I should have had about 370 boxes to sell, but instead, we only have 216.
Let me know if there's anything.
I tell you what, somebody who is a neckbeard, borderline sweaty neckbeard, that actually hurts my feelings. I couldn't even imagine what a freaking casual player would be going through right now. They would probably rage quit. We're not rage quitting though today, like a true freaking sweaty neckbeard. We're just gonna go back out there and make up for what we lost. Definitely make better decisions and bring all my orders directly to here. Now I could go to sleep, but yeah, that means I gotta make up all that money tomorrow, and ain't nobody got time for that. I'll never get any sleep because we're still buying the Taurus on day 3. So Hawks, okay, we've seen the power washing simulator at this point. How much is it gonna be paying the casual player if they play 4 hours a day? About every 4 hours, you can complete 5 trips because it takes about 45 minutes to completely fill up, and that means 2.106 million for the casual player. The neckbeard who plays for at least 8 hours a day is going to be able to complete 10 orders and will make 4.212 million AUEC per day. The sweaty neckbeard, who is going to be averaging at least 12 hours of gameplay per day, will bring in 6.318 million per day, and that's absolutely ridiculous when you're talking about making that much money per day spread over 30 days. No, yeah, at this point I am wiped out completely. It's almost another 4 hours later. I only completed 3 orders. It didn't even make up for what I lost, but it's definitely a head start on tomorrow. Let absolutely everything that happened to me on day 2 be a lesson to you, so you don't have to go and experience all the drama I had to go through just to get up to 4.2 million on day 2. Oh yeah, Hawks is tired, he go thud. Space Bros, there is barely enough coffee in this world to keep me awake today, but we're gonna start up bright and early and get back out to power washing. Today I started out using the Cornerstone charts. I went to Crew L1, and from Crew L1 I would plot a course over to Arc L3 and then fly over in that direction. And then I was just kind of quitting out of my quantum drive at 11.8 gigameters and then farming in Ring 5 like on a constant basis. Then I remembered that I actually wrote down how to get into the Aaron's Halo from Orison going to Arc L3, and it made my trips way faster. In order to do that, all you have to do is start out in Orison, plot a course to Arc L3, and drop out at 15 gigameters. And if you drop in there, that'll give you a couple 100,000 kilometers worth of the Aaron's Halo that you can farm in. So instead of spending about 45 minutes on average to get out there, load up, completely come back and offload all those packages, you're only going to be spending about 40 minutes instead of 45 minutes every round trip. Today, these servers ran so freaking good. Like, man, why couldn't it be that good yesterday when I was delivering? But I experienced absolutely no bugs, no lag, no server crashes, absolutely nothing but power washing for a solid 8.5 hours. Well, a little bit closer to 9 because I actually got 12 orders before I call it quits, and ironically I spent far less time playing than I did yesterday. Yeah, what is with this 225 nonsense? I should have 444 boxes. I'm about to lose my freaking mind. That is literally a little bit more than half of what I've done today, so it's gonna piss me off if I don't have any more to sell. Oh, thank the Lord. So there's the other 219, that's 444 boxes that I farmed up today. Feeling a whole heck of a lot better right now. Honestly feeling quite bad about how many names I was able to call CIG in about 3 seconds when I was super pissed off. So I guess I'll take them back for now since today was a bug-free experience. This is my favorite part, securing another method to make money. It's also the walk of somebody who's fixing to be broke. It took me 2 days to earn all the money to buy this Constellation Taurus, and all that money's gone in a matter of a few seconds after I clicked that freaking button. I am definitely getting tired at this point, plus it's Christmas Eve, so let's take this Constellation Taurus out, get her fully upgraded. Our very first stop is going to be in the ArcCorp system. We need to head back into Dumper's Depot. You want to grab 2 Starburn power plants. You also want to grab 2 Snowpack coolers. And you want to grab 24 Rattler 2 missiles. They're like the very best missiles you can get. Once you grab all that stuff and get it stuffed into your ship, you're going to want to head over to New Babbage. We're going to be looking up a place called Omega Pro. It's going to be in the back by the TDD. You want to grab the Sunfire Experimental Quantum Drive, and you also want to grab the Parapet, which is an industrial shield. Those 2 starburn power plants are super cool. It's going to enable us to run this ship at max power as long as we turn off our life support, and that's actually pretty awesome. Not only did I stuff all the missiles in there, I actually removed both of the guns in the turret as well as the turret attachment itself. That's going to save me even more power. Definitely only do this if you plan to fly solo all the time in the Taurus, but it definitely saves you time from putting in power into one system and having to take it out of another. It's always going to run at full power. Now that we have the Constellation Taurus completely pimped out, the master plan for tomorrow is to take her out and do a whole bunch of bounty hunting and grind as much rank as I possibly can. Every superhero needs a sidekick, so I ended up buying a Pico when I was in New Babbage. Luckily for me, I didn't get stuck there for another hour, but tomorrow, Pico, tomorrow is going to be glorious. And by glorious, I actually meant this is the exact reason why I do not do missions early on whenever Star Citizen releases a new patch, because they always seem to freaking bug out all the time. This bad guy here was my cert target, but he just randomly lost his target icon and he's still not dead yet. I ended up beating my head against the wall for the next 2 hours trying to just complete the very first certification, gave up and just went out and power washed. I wasn't even sure if this was going to be the end of the video or not, just because I could not get the bounty hunting to work, and that's how I wanted to end the video. This is when I decided, you know what, maybe I'll give those hauling contracts a try. I mean, heck, I recommended that the new player do it for the 50k early on. Maybe these contracts are going to work because bounty hunting right now is completely screwed up. I grabbed one of my random freelancers to fly up to Seraphim Station. That's where the beginning of our mission starts and where I need to pick up all those boxes. Earlier, I had already stored my Constellation Taurus here after being completely and totally butthurt about not being able to get any of the bounty missions to work. This Taurus here is a little bit overkill for doing these new missions, but what's really cool about that is you can pretty much do this mission in any ship that you own, even if you have to take up to 2 trips to complete it. It's still going to be worth the 50k. If this first hauling contract ends up working out, what I think I'll do is I'll focus on hauling for a little bit until I earn enough money to buy the Haul A, because the Haul A is going to be way better geared to finishing off these smaller missions. Let's get these sent down into the warehouse. Hopefully this is going to work. Oh, it says we have everything here. Let's confirm it and send it down. I am kind of hopeful that these missions are going to work out today, and it looks like that one completed just fine, because I have heard stories that some of these missions are not completing. I've been mostly performing science, just checking out where the very best place to haul cargo is, and doing that I was actually able to earn some money. We almost have enough to buy the Haul A, but right now I'm going to buy the ATLS. This is definitely going to help me when I do the bigger contracts. Back in the day, I remember when they first came out with this and I got to test it, and oh my goodness, I had so much fun. All I did is get in it and walk around for an hour everywhere in third-person mode. Did I fully test it the way CIG wanted me to test it? Nope, I didn't move a whole lot of boxes. I just basically did this all day long because it's freaking cool. Let's get my little mech loaded up, and of course the floor disappears right when I'm fixing to step on it and kills me. So earlier I was butthurt and I almost basically gave up making the rest of this video, but I did end up doing one more load of power washing and end up storing my Vulture here in the hangar. I wanted to be able to test my little mech to see if it was going to be able to move these 1 SCU boxes any faster. Now I know it's going to move the bigger ones faster, but these littler ones, if it makes this stage faster, then it's going to make this whole job even quicker. Yeah. Alright, this is way faster. This is gonna cut down offloading times at least by half. Man, I really wish I would have bought this on day 2 instead of waiting until day 4. Oh my goodness. I have no idea why doing Space Tetris is so much fun for me, so I went out there and power washed one more load and came back because I wanted to play with the ATLS again. Now we have enough money to buy the Haul A. Not only do we have enough money to buy the Haul A at this point, we can fully upgrade her as well. Back at New Deal in the Hurston system, we're fixing to buy the Haul A, which is low-key one of my very favorite ships in the game. Our first stop is going to be Platinum Bay in the Galleria. On the space station of Bikini Point, you're going to buy 1 Lumicore power plant. And then stuff it in. Our next stop is Platinum Bay once again on the space station of Hurl 5. You're going to buy the Rampart, and you're also going to be buying the Atlas. Yeah, definitely time to save and equip. What I'm about to show you is hands down the very best extra small cargo out here. We have 6 orders. That's 300K. If they all complete, it's going to take me about 30 minutes, so that's 600K an hour. All 6 of these orders can be picked up at Bikini Point, and they just want you to drop them off down at Area 18, which is literally straight down below you. There is always at least one return voyage cargo trip for you. It's considered a small and it pays around 50K as well, although I do avoid this one because it has larger boxes and a higher quantity of boxes you have to stack. I find it's just best to focus on these 6 orders and just drop them off over and freaking over. Before you go getting all excited on me, understand that these missions, they're also bugged just like the bounty contracts. They'll either complete if they feel like it, and if they don't feel like it, well, they're not going to complete. There are kind of a few things you can do that helps them complete a little more often. At least that's what it seems like to me. Now, what you want to do is you want to pull up one order individually out of your warehouse, put it on your ship, and then pull up the other order. Keep doing that over and over. Only pull up one order out of your warehouse at a time. The same exact thing applies for dropping off your orders as well. You only want to be dropping off one order at a time, because whenever I've dropped off multiple orders, that's where it seems like it turns into the biggest pair of clown shoes ever. At this point, you've seen me complete 2 orders, and I've only gotten credit for completing one. The one that failed, which was the very first order, is Corundum, and I've dropped that off a bunch of times and have gotten paid for it and the mission completed. Like I said before, it is just completely and totally random. You're going to be doing absolutely everything right, but this is on CIG's end. They released this patch a little bit too early, it's half-baked, and none of these missions are working correctly. In my opinion, that's actually pretty brutal for the new player, because right now you can't even watch a single YouTube video right now without there being 20 million Star Citizen commercials like everywhere in between each one of the videos you're watching. Now you would think with all those new players coming in that they would want these basic early contracts to actually work so the new player doesn't get freaking frustrated to absolute freaking death and then rage quits the game like my son did today. He tried to play it for the very first time. I was editing and couldn't help him. He actually rage quit. He got sick and tired of the bugs. Space friends, I generally don't use my platform to literally complain about a situation or a game. I'm very, very geared towards bug testing, so I have a very, very thick hide when it comes to doing things like this. But if you are the average player like my son who has never played this game before, the amount of frustration these people feel as new players, this is why Star Citizen gets its bad reputation. It's not because it's a bad game, because quite honestly, when the game runs properly, this is by far one of the very best games you will ever play in your entire life. The main crux of the problem is just releasing these main patches too early before they are ready, and that's where all the frustration and all the literal talking smack about Star Citizen comes from. So there we go, I completed all 6 orders, and this time only 3 of them completed. Now it is worth noting that I have done these 6 orders and all 6 of them completed. I've also done this where only 2 of them completed. Like I said, completely random and still broken. Never fear, Space Pals, CIG will eventually get this fixed after the Christmas break, but for now, still broken. But when it's fixed, definitely one of the very best trading missions that you can do early on as a new player. I did spend several hours doing these hauling contracts, and I only made it to Junior. My master plan was to get to the highest rank possible to show you those missions because they pay over 1 million per contract. Hey. There you have it, Space Pals. This is how to have the very best start in Star Citizen 4.0. For now, you most definitely want to avoid contracts. You just want to do the rock mining and definitely focus on the power washing simulator. All my love to my Patreon and YouTube channel supporters. Each and every one of you make my day, and I love you all. Peace.